Hello, everyone. We are live. So, first of all, what I want to tell everyone is that with Webinar Jam, there's about a 30-second delay for all of the viewers. So whatever you're seeing, it's about, I actually said that about 30 seconds ago. So just in case anything seems strange for you on your end, that's why. But also what's interesting about this is if anyone comes in a little bit late, say someone starts 5 minutes late, you guys will actually be seeing from the beginning. So if you're watching this, but then going, that's so strange, the typing on the side doesn't really match up with what she's saying, it's just because the typing on the side is in real time while you're watching a recording. So just to give you guys a little bit of background about that. Welcome to my bedroom. My partner in crime, he's in the office actually watching right now. Hi, JP. Can you type in and let me know that you hear me on your end, and then that way I know everyone else can hear me. Yay, great. Okay, so this is really funny. I want to show you guys this. So I'm in my bedroom and I noticed, like, do you guys see the little stuffed animal right there, gray? It's a little owl and he's just like peeking out like half of his eye. I think that's really funny looking. So, great. I'm so glad that everyone is here. This is actually my third webinar, and I'm, as you can tell, a lot more comfortable with them now. But also, I'm really excited about this webinar. I was excited about the first two I led as well, but this one has tools in it that really have drastically changed my life. It's stuff that I love talking about because I deeply believe in it. And so this next 60 minutes is going to be a lot of great information and pretty powerful. So what I recommend everyone do, two things, is grab a notebook and a pen because you definitely will want to take notes. There's definitely some things I'll be sharing today that I know you out there will want to write down. Hi, Holly's on, Drinny's on, Yelena's on, hello. Yay, cool. So the second thing that I want to say is that I'm really going to stay within the 60-minute mark here. So for the next 60 minutes, just give yourself permission to let anything else go. So if you've got email open, close it. If you're multitasking, decide to just focus on this, because I promise there'll be information here and you might hear it like on the side as you're doing other things, and then all of a sudden you're going to hear something and go, oh, what was that? I want to hear that. So there'll definitely be moments in this where you're like, this was great, this was worth the hour, even if in just one moment. So, okay. Yeah, let's begin. So first of all, what I want to say is this webinar is for anyone here who wants to create a kick-ass life they love. That's the name of this webinar, Create a Kick-Ass Life That You Love. And this is going to be very powerful for anyone who's on it, but especially anyone who feels like right now life feels a little bit more like work than a game to them. They feel like they're working to get ahead, working to get by. It just feels a little bit more like, it could be a struggle, could be a challenge, but it just feels like work rather than a game or an adventure. This webinar is also going to be super powerful for anyone who feels like right now they're operating from or creating from anxiety, overwhelm, or envy. So my goal is by the end of this to give you some really powerful tools where you are not operating and not creating from that place, because you'll have tools to catch yourself and understand why you're in that space and how to move beyond it into a much more powerful place. And then also, if you are someone who believes in the power of law of attraction, manifesting, or maybe you're more on the side of like mind over matter, whatever it is, whether you want to call it mind over matter, the power of the mind, or law of attraction, you believe in it, you're curious about it, but you kind of feel like you don't quite get how it works, right? You've heard a few things about it, maybe you've experimented with some things, but you're like, how does this actually work? Because it doesn't seem to be working in my life. So today I'm going to give you some really practical tools that you can start applying right away, today, tonight, so that you can start creating the life that you really want to be living. Okay, so what we're going to do specifically in this webinar today is I'm going to be giving you 3 very simple tools, but they're very powerful tools. So the first thing that we're going to cover today is what I call, so step one is called getting out of your own way. And in this process, I'm going to be teaching you the 7 mind traps that keep you stuck in anxiety, overwhelm, frustration, self-doubt, envy. And when we go through those 7 mind traps, which by the way, if you have not heard of these, this alone is going to make this webinar priceless. We'll talk about them, but then I'll also give you a strategy to overcome them or work through them and with them. The second step that we're going to be learning is what I call choose magic over mundane. So this is where I'm going to teach you what I call the 5 keys for living magic, and I'll be walking you through that process. And then the third and final thing is what I call, the third step is called release and receive. And this is where I'm going to be teaching you the 5-phase, there are the 5 phases, it's like the 5-phase manifesting formula, we'll call it. And that's going to be really interesting. Once I give that to you, it'll be, some of you might have heard of it before, some of you might, maybe you're like, oh, I've heard of everything but that piece, but we're really going to break it down and talk about it, and specifically talk about where people get stuck, where they start to manifest and then the block appears. So, all right. What I want to say a little bit is just give you a little background on why I'm teaching this, why I just introduced it as the webinar that I'm most excited for. And that is because these 3 steps that I just spoke to you about, the getting out of your own way, choosing the magic over mundane, and release and receive, are 3 practices that over the past less than 3 years, well, I'd say it's about 3 years, a little bit more, I have been applying in my life, and my life has radically shifted. Now, some of you on here already know a little bit of my background. And you know, of course, we have our background, but where I'm going to go is just 3 years ago. And in fact, not even a full 3 years. So I moved to Santa Cruz, California, which is where I currently reside, less than 3 years ago. In fact, it'll be exactly 3 years on August 3rd, so this summer. And when I arrived here, I was in debt with more than $10,000. So I was in more than $10,000 debt. I was literally borrowing money from people, and not like, oh, can I borrow that? Like, I needed, like, can I borrow $50 here? Like, I just was borrowing little bits here and there because I couldn't even I'm not, not really able to eat, you know? I was crashing on someone's couch. So I had just lived 2 years out of the country in Nicaragua, and I was making the Nicaraguan currency there. When I came back to the US, I had about $1,000 in my savings, and I had just done a 3-month road trip camping solo and did not know that I was going to come back to the US. I actually had a return ticket to Nicaragua, never got on it, and stayed in the US. So here I am all of a sudden making this decision to stay in this country and to stay in California, one of the most expensive states in the US. And I have like $10 in my bank account, no job, and I have debt. Also, just less than 3 years ago, I was single, but also my experience with dating was not one that was very fun. In fact, I had a lot of challenges with it. Very much dating people who, good people, but not the right people for me, and constantly noticing red flags, but settling, you know, not really owning my worth or really connected with what I really want or what I really deserve. And so therefore that was my experience of dating. And to be honest, you know, at the time I was just starting to think, like, is it even possible for me to meet someone that I actually feel is a match for me, that I'm actually excited to wake up to every day? And with regards to my career, I was doing the work I'm doing in the world now, but I was surviving it. I was not thriving in it. I wasn't necessarily super excited about it because I had all these ideas on what I wanted to create and who I wanted to be and how I wanted to show up and how I wanted to serve, but I had no idea how that was going to happen. And I really didn't have deep down the faith and belief in myself to get me there. So, and on top of that, when I did finally get a job, I always had like side jobs, you know, there's nothing wrong with that, but this was my reality, you know, in debt, borrowing money, not fully in my power, not in rewarding relationships, not having particularly rewarding, powerful friendships. And you guys, I just want to say it again, this was less than 3 years ago, okay? So today, totally different story. I am madly in love. My partner will be together 2 years in August. He is literally the most amazing, incredible blessing of my life. And he treats me so wonderfully. We have such, like, what I was actually just speaking with him earlier today with one of my coaches, and I was saying the thing that I love so much about this person is that he loves me so good. He spoils me so much with love and cuddles and hugs and support and believing in me. But the thing that I love the most about him is how much he loves and respects himself. Like, I can be a little sassy and I can be a little bossy and I can be a little moody, and he allows so much of that when it comes up, and not that it comes up all the time, but he never lets me walk on him. He never lets me disrespect him. And I have so much respect for him because of that. And I feel like our relationship is really built upon this mutual respect and love and desire to grow with each other. It's like, I mean, that alone, if like all these tools got me was him, it's worth it. But also, I love the work I'm doing in the world. I only make a living as a yoga teacher and a coach. And my income is, well, it doubled in 1 year, let's say that. But the reason I stop and laugh is that, like, I remember a time when I hired my first coach, and the amount of money I'm making, the amount of money I made last year, so I'm making more this year, but the amount of money that I made last year, I was like, if I could only just get to that, like, oh my God, like, it was like so amazing to me back then. And again, all of these tools, I'm going to give you how I got there with all of this. And just in general, I feel like, and here's the real thing, you guys, my mindset about growing and creating and becoming who I want to become in the world and having what I want to have comes from a place that feels a lot more rich and a lot more authentic and a lot more powerful and a lot more like loving. There's a lot less force in my life. And if I can offer this to the world, like, wow, right? I just feel a lot more peace and a lot more power on the inside. And because of that, my world is really becoming a reflection of that. Alrighty. So, and the last thing I want to say about that is, I know, like, people who connect with me and follow me and find me and want to learn from me, you guys are happy people, right? Lots of you are yogis, like, you've had very exciting, adventurous lives. You follow your hearts, and you're happy, right? Like, I was never not a happy person. Well, I shouldn't say I was never not a happy person, but 3 years ago, I was happy, but I wasn't fulfilled. And what I want to offer you guys today on this webinar is how to get to that place of being fulfilled. Because man, oh man, do we all deserve to feel that way. And when we feel that way and we're operating from that way, what you start creating and what comes from you is just, it's what you're here to do, right? So, all right. Last time my partner gave me the tip, he's like, pause in between things. So if you're noticing me like pause, I'm practicing the art of pausing. Something about the webinar thing is, like, I don't have faces to look at to get feedback, to make eye contact, to ask questions. So it's like an interesting balance of, like, knowing how to navigate the teaching arena when I'm literally just staring at myself right now. So, okay, we're going to begin now. And we're going to begin with step 1. And just to review, and this is what you'll want to write down. So the first step, again, is getting out of your own way. And we're going to begin by learning what the 7 mind traps are that keep you from kind of, just feeling the way you don't want to feel, a lower vibration. So first of all, what are the 7 mind traps? The 7 mind traps, they come from, and this is a fantastic book. Today I'm going to be giving you 3 books that I highly recommend you write down and you buy today. So this book, it's called A Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction Workbook. A Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction Workbook. This is such a powerful book. It's actually a book that I use in my yoga teacher training that I lead every year. So this book is, well, I'm not going to talk about the book, but I'm going to talk about a chapter in it, which is where they present these 7 mind traps. And the mind traps they're mental habits or mental patterns that tend to direct our energy towards more stress, more anxiety, and more pain in our life. So when we get into these mind traps, it really amplifies the very experience that we don't want to be having. And once we start going through these, I guarantee you'll have like tons of ahas and like, oh, I know when I did that. And oh yeah, that really did amplify that experience. And oh, you know, like whenever I lead this live, people are always like, oh yeah. So the first one is negative self-talk. Negative self-talk. So some examples of this would be like, I'm not good enough. I'll never find a partner. One that I used to say a lot. Me and money, we just don't get along, you know. I find money to be just really complicated, and it just complicates my life when it's in it. I always screw up, right? These are some of the negative self-talk. So what I'd love for you to do is take a moment and just think of one thing that you know you have a pattern. And again, a pattern doesn't necessarily mean every day, but like you've negative self-talk that comes up, and this could be something that's just in your head, you keep it to yourself, or it could be something that actually you verbally say out loud and you've said it to people before. Like I said, for me, one thing that I really started noticing when I went on this journey of really understanding how my mindset was a reflection of my reality is that before I met JP, I was always saying, I wasn't actually saying I'll never find the right partner. What I was saying is I was like, this is exactly how I'd say it to people. I'd be like, it's so funny, like I seem to really be able to like get a hang of all the things in my life that I really want, but I seem to be broken in the relationship area, and I always seem to attract the wrong person towards me. I would say that so often, and I would say it kind of like laughing, almost making fun of it, but here I was actually revealing to myself, to the world, to everyone, a belief that I was operating on. And a belief means to hold something dear. So even if when you say something like that where you're like, you don't really want to feel that way, you don't want to believe that way, you're laughing at it, if you believe it, and you believe it if you're saying it again and again in your head or saying it out loud, and you certainly have some kind of belief blocking you if you're having experiences, especially repeated experiences that you don't want to be having. But if a belief means to hold dear, then we're going to do whatever it takes subconsciously to keep that belief intact. So the first step is really acknowledging this negative self-talk, and especially the repetitive patterns that you have going on. And yes, the name of the book is called A Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction Workbook. A mindfulness-based stress reduction workbook. So, so, so good. It's an incredible book. So the strategy that I want to offer here for this first mind trap is to bring a little bit of humor to this, because I guarantee you we all do this. We all do some sort of negative self-talk. If anyone tells me they don't have any of that, I know they're bullshitting me. So bring a little humor to it. And what I did to really help me with the negative self-talk is I call it my itty bitty shitty committee. So I kind of even imagine in my mind the committee, and the way I imagine them is they kind of look like little Fraggle rocks. So they're all different colors, and they look like puppets. And this is my itty bitty shitty committee that lives in my head. That is the committee that's like, oh, she's not good enough. Oh, she's broken and won't find the right partner. Like it's even like this. It's kind of funny and awkward, and it makes me laugh. Like it's, oh, okay, you know, there's that, you know, there's that. And then there's also maybe me, my truth, right? And that maybe I'm not broken. Maybe there isn't something wrong with me that's gravitating all the wrong people to me, or, you know, so the itty bitty shitty committee, and just bringing a little bit of humor to it. Something that you can do to even like really, if this is a big one for you, is even take a little bit of time and sit down and draw your itty bitty shitty committee. And then you can tap that picture up somewhere where you're going to see it every day, so that every time you look at it, you're reminded, oh, this, you know, I've got an itty bitty shitty committee up here. We all do. And it's my choice whether or not I actually listen to what it has to say. So the next time it tells me I'm not good enough, or the next time it tells me that I'm not smart enough, or whatever it is, then I can recognize, like, is that actually truth? Do I want to believe that? Do I want to operate from that paradigm? Okay. So the second one, the second mind trap, is called catastrophizing. And this one also, I have kind of a little bit of a funny explanation for it. I have a mentor who has a mentor who calls it disaster baiting. So when she told me that, I loved it. I think it's way better than catastrophizing. But basically, when we're disaster baiting or we're catastrophizing, this is that game, that what if game, that the question always leads to the worst case scenario. So I'm going to give you an example. Like, maybe you're buying a car, and this car is a used car. And people start saying things to you like, oh, you know, that car, I've heard it's expensive to fix if it breaks, or do you know, they're just kind of feeding things in your head, feeding a little bit of worry. And then you start going into the what if, disaster baiting, catastrophizing, worst case scenario. What if I get this car and then it breaks down and then I have to put thousands of dollars in it and then I've invested all of my, like, you just start building and building and building until it just becomes this huge, like, totally crazy story that isn't even true. And I know we can probably all relate to this and think of a time in our life where we've really just amplified something into the worst case scenario, really building up our anxiety and our stress about something, rather than staying in the reality of it and asking really powerful questions that'll really actually lead you to making a more powerful decision. So my strategy for this is something called the STOP meditation. It is so simple. This is what it is. So it's actually an acronym. So STOP stands for, the letter S stands for stop. T stands for take a breath. Now what's important about that is a lot of times when we start getting into that realm of worrying and freaking out and catastrophizing, we are not breathing anymore. So our nervous system is all of a sudden in fight, flight, or freeze. So you take a deep breath and it calms your nervous system. It brings you back into your relaxation response, and you can actually take a moment to observe what is actually happening. So there's the S, the T, the O is observe. In that moment where you're observing, you want to ask that question, is it really true what you're saying? Right? Is it really true? Is it really true that if you buy this car and it breaks down, you're going to have to invest all of your savings in? I mean, first of all, it's your choice whether or not you even, you know, like, is it really true? Are you going to go into debt? Are you going to have to borrow money from, you know, is it really true? So, and you want to ask that a few times, is it true? Because at first you might just be like, yes. Is it really true? Like, really, really true, getting you to really think about it so that you can start to go, well, okay, and get back into reality. And then the last thing, the P, is proceed. So again, that stop meditation is simply stop, take a breath, observe, and then proceed. Okay, so the third one is exaggerating the negative and discounting the positive. So again, this is exaggerating the negative and discounting the positive. So I'm going to give you an example of this. I wrote one down. I'm doing better at my work, but I'm still making mistakes. So here's where, like, they're talking about the positive. Like, I'm doing better at work. Like, I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm doing better at work. I'm starting to see better results. I'm starting to feel better. I'm starting to feel more confidence, but I'm still making mistakes. You can even see how that is. It's like you're talking about the benefits, the positives, but yeah, I'm still making mistakes. And this is something that's super common in our language. In fact, start listening to people when their natural talk will be like this. They'll, be talking about things like, you know, like, things are going a lot better. Things are going really, really great with me and my partner. We're in therapy now. We're starting to communicate better. We're really getting on the same page. But he still does that really annoying thing, you know? And so this is a really important one to notice and to observe in your own patterns. And the strategy for this one, well, first of all, is just to recognize that, to recognize yourself doing that, exaggerating the negative and discounting the positive. And then what you'll do here is you simply replace the word but with and. That way it's not about, like, you can say the second part of the sentence. You know, it's not about like, oh, don't say any of that, but just change the word but to and, so that it's not discounting all that amazing positive stuff you said. And there's a different energy in adding the word and instead of but. So it's like, You know, things are going really great with me and my partner. We're in therapy now. We're really on the same page, and I'm noticing that we're communicating so much better. And he still does that quirky thing that annoys me. And, you know, it's just a different energy. So play with that one. Okay. The fourth one, this one's called mind reading. So the fourth of the 7 mind traps is mind reading. So this is where you know what other people are thinking and feeling and why they act the way they do without actual evidence. Now, first of all, if anyone here is in a committed relationship, I guarantee you have done this to your partner. We do this with all sorts of people all the time, our friends, our family. You know, we think we know what someone else is thinking. We think we know what someone else is feeling. We think we understand why people are doing what they're doing, and we actually have no evidence for it. This is just our own story in our own head. These are common things like, I just know she doesn't like me, right? Or he's mad at me. You know, have you ever really thought, like, we're just convinced someone didn't like you, and then you finally talk to them and they're like, oh my God, I totally liked you. I just didn't think you liked me. Have you ever had that happen before? Or where you thought someone was annoyed and mad at you, and then finally you talk to them about it and they're like, oh no, my grandmother passed away last week and I've just been not myself. Whoa, right? Like, hello. So the strategy for getting over mind reading and having that really block you is, first of all, to remember, if any of you, and here's the second book that I told you I was going to tell you about, a lot of great books. If you've ever read the book called The 4 Agreements, the one I'm actually going to show you here is called The 5th Agreement, because they added a 5th agreement to it. So the 4 agreements, or the 5th agreements, the second one is called Don't Take Anything Personally. So first of all, I highly recommend you get the book, The 4 Agreements. It's by Don Miguel Ruiz, and that's spelled R-U-I-Z. And The 4 Agreements is an incredible book, super powerful. You'll learn so much about it and mindset stuff. But that second one is just don't take anything personally. None of us really know what's going on in someone else's heart and in their head until we ask them, until we get actual evidence because they spoke it and said it. Yes, it's true. I don't like you. Yes, it's true. I'm mad at you. So really the strategy for this one is to remember that second agreement, don't take anything personally. And obviously if you read the book and you read the chapter on that, that will resonate even more with you. But really is to go get that evidence, to start to strengthen your communication skills and empower yourself that when you think you know why someone is being the way they're being, feeling the way they're feeling, or acting the way they're acting, and it's something that you're feeling uncomfortable with, go speak to them about it. Go talk to them about it. Okay. The 5th one is being the eternal expert. So this is when we are in that place where we're on guard or we're defending our opinions and our actions. And, you know, in particular, all of these patterns, these mind traps, notice which one really resonates with you the most. We've all probably met people who just, it seems like they're constantly on guard, defending their opinions and defending their actions. And I can imagine how anxiety producing that is, like how tense that would start to feel in your body. And so for me, this one, and I mean, I've certainly done that before, where I'm just like, you know, I just want to prove myself right to someone. And it never feels good, and it never quite goes the way that I want it to go anyways when my come from is from that, right? So for me, what I do when I'm coming from that place of wanting to prove myself to someone, prove my opinions to someone, prove my actions to someone, and I'm noticing this, is that I remember this quote, which is very simple. Do you want to be right, or do you want to be happy? And man, does that just make me go, whew, because clearly what I want is to be happy. So all of a sudden my defense to like prove myself right, to be the eternal expert, really softens, and I find a new way to dialogue, or I just let it go. I just let it go and let that person discover that on their own, right? The 6th one, and this one is a huge one. I mean, it's so much of what my business is wrapped around. And the 6th one is the shoulds. So the shoulds are like all the unbreakable rules we have for ourselves and for others. And the problem with this is that when we're operating from the shoulds, first of all, one should, I always say one should will lead to another should, which will lead to another should, which really pushes you further and further away from your truth and more into that place of confusion and overwhelm. But also when we're operating from shoulds, it can create resentment and anger. If someone, like say those shoulds we're putting on someone else and they don't rise up to our expectations, then that could produce a lot of anger and resentment. But also on ourselves, if we don't rise up to this should that we've created, then it can create a lot of guilt, shame, things like that. So the shoulds, really notice when you're saying I should. And sometimes that language is like, it's really clear, like I should be meditating every day. I should be whatever, but it's also, I need to. So like with my clients, I'm saying a lot to them when they say, I need to, I should, I just kind of pause and say, you want to, or you need to. So even just changing your language to that, like I want to be growing my business versus I need to be growing. It's just a really different energy. But also the truth is, if you don't really want to, when you say I want to, you'll feel it in your body. You'll be like, well, I don't really want that. I feel like I should because my parents want that for me, or I feel like I should because, like other people are doing it that way, and whatever it is, like all of a sudden you start getting a little more clear with what's actually going on and where that idea is coming from, whether it's coming from your heart or it's coming from some other place. And the beginning of that, my friends, is a really powerful conversation into your truth. And when you start having that powerful conversation with your truth, that's when you start creating from a really powerful place that actually feels like it's magic. It's not magic, but it's going to feel like that because synchronicity starts lining up. You start getting ideas that you're just like, whoa, brilliant. You start meeting people that can help you get what you want. So some good stuff. The strategy for this, I already kind of gave some strategies, like noticing your language of saying I should and I need and replacing that with want, but also just recognizing if you're constantly looking at what others are doing, saying, or being. If you're just constantly out there, like checking in on what other people are doing, being, saying, and then coming back and comparing yourself to that. It's exhausting. And oftentimes what you're seeing other people, again, this is like with the whole new realm of social media and all of this, is a lot of times what we're seeing is not the whole picture. Right? And so sometimes it looks like someone's coming from this very perfect place and we don't know the journey that got them there. We don't know what's actually going on. We don't know what it took. And so we're not getting the whole picture, and then we're trying to be this picture that isn't really the way it was for them anyways. So the shoulds. Okay, now the last one, and this one is pretty important. This is called blaming. So blaming is like, we all know what it is, but I want to really give words to it. It's holding others responsible for your own pain, or holding yourself responsible for the problems of others. Right? Like just even reading that, it's like, that's intense and that's heavy, right? So really recognizing when you're blaming your life circumstances on someone else or something else, or you're blaming yourself for someone else's life circumstances. This will just keep you in a loop of really not going nowhere, because you'll just be looping and looping, and it keeps you in a really reactive space, because when you're blaming, you're not taking responsibility, right? The first few letters of responsibility is response. So responsibility is responding to life versus reacting to it. And the strategy for this, obviously, is just to really start to take responsibility for your own life, right? Like whatever has happened in your past, it's in your past. And I know sometimes it can be like, oh, but because of that, I am the way I am. And it's like, you are free will. Like you can go out and you can decide to learn to change your mindset. You can decide to take different actions. And I say this, you guys, not from a book I read, but from my own life, right? And knowing that like I can take responsibility. No one, nothing in my past is responsible for who I am today or what I'm experiencing today. And I will say that knowing that has been the most liberating and empowering thing I have ever learned in my life and have ever felt in my body. And a lot of freedom became apparent to me once I stopped operating from this mind trap. So another strategy besides just getting clear and taking responsible for your life, and it's a fun one, it's intense, but is to write a fuck you letter to someone who you tend to blame a lot. So maybe this is an ex-husband, maybe this is a parent, maybe this is a coworker, whatever it is. And you're just gonna let it out on this paper. Like at the top of the paper, you'll write their name and you're just gonna fuck you, everything you've ever wanted to say, all the blame that you've ever wanted to lay on their shoulders, just everything, all the ways in which they did you wrong. And this is a purging. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not gonna actually give them the letter. You're just gonna let it out so that you can let it out, like let it out of your body. And then, this is the powerful part, when you're all done, it's gonna be like, whew, you're gonna go to the top and you're either gonna erase it if you used pencil, the name at the top. You're either gonna erase it or you're gonna cross it out and you're gonna replace it with your name. And what is so powerful about this is that it's really about you taking ownership for your life. So, yeah. All right, you guys. So that was the first part. The first step of creating a kick-ass life is for you to get out of your own way. And you begin to do that by noticing those 7 mind traps and not letting them rule your world. That's the first part. Like, it's hard to create magic if you're still operating from those mind traps. If you're still constantly getting in your own way, you're still blaming, you're still operating from the shoulds, you're doing all your negative self-talk. It's like the next 2 steps are almost like you just can't get into them until you really start to get a hang of that first stuff. And just, you know, when I say get a hang of it, I don't mean like now go to therapy for the next 8 years and figure it out. I mean, just start noticing it, write it down, stick it up on a wall, you know, start working with these strategies. And really you'll notice a big difference within a couple weeks if you stay consistent of really staying awake and noticing these traps and noticing when they're coming up and catching yourself. Even if you catch yourself an hour later, like you've already done it, like reverse, backpedal, go back and say sorry, go back and, you know, it's never too late to start to change the mind. It's never too late, okay? So now the second step, this one is called choose magic over the mundane. Choose magic over mundane. And here's where I'm going to teach you the 5 keys for living magic. So we're going to move through these a little bit quicker because I'm seeing the time. So the first one is clarity. Clarity is about you just getting super clear on what it is that you want. If you're not sure, then it's going to be really hard for you to create a kick-ass life if you're not sure what that looks like. Now, that doesn't mean you have to know everything you want right now. It doesn't mean that you have to know exactly how you want it to look until you die, but there's got to be something that you're really wanting, and you got to get clear on that. And there's a lot of ways to go about and get that clarity, and we're not going to talk about that today. But one thing that I want to say about this is I like to imagine this part is like, imagine that the universe is your personal assistant. If you had a personal assistant and you didn't give very clear directions to this personal assistant, you know, you just kind of were like, put them into an office and said, go at it. Maybe you gave some kind of directions, but not that great, then the results that you're going to get from that personal assistant are not going to be that great. They're going to be mediocre at best. This is the same thing with starting to operate in that realm of law of attraction, magic, mind over matter, is you got to get clear. And the more clear you get, the more powerful your results will be. It's like the more clear you are with your personal assistant, the more that this person is going to be able to help you and serve you and bring to you what you want. The second key in living magic is commitment. So commitment is once you get clear on what it is that you want, you're going to turn that goal into a vision. And the way that you turn a goal into a vision is you get clear on your why. Why is it that you want that thing that you want, or you want that experience that you want? Why is that? And the importance of turning a goal into a vision is it makes it compelling. So when the going gets tough, which it does, I mean, this is one thing that I really think separates people who are successful from people who are not, is that people who are successful understand and plan for the going get tough. They know that there's going to be moments where they're going to want to procrastinate. They know that there's going to be moments where they get stuck. They know that there's going to be failures. Like, they just know this. This isn't about like pretending that doesn't happen, but they're like fine with it. That's part of the process of getting ahead. That's part of the process of having success. And they have a very different mindset about it, and they plan for it so that when it happens, it doesn't just throw them off. And then it's all of a sudden like, oh, I don't want that anymore. I'm not going to take action in that direction anymore. It's like, okay, here it is. It's happening. So I must be moving forward. So a good example of this is maybe like, say your goal is, I want to make a minimum of 6 figures annually. That's a goal. Cool. Whatever. Lots of people want that. It's not very like compelling. It's just a goal. But here, when you get clear on your why, it becomes a vision. And let me just say this. A why, maybe this. Maybe you are a single mother and you are an entrepreneur and you are creating your own business and you'd like to make a minimum of 6 figures a year. Now you get clear on your why. Maybe this is your why. Maybe it's because you want to be able to put your daughter into one of the best schools in your town, a private school where she's really going to get incredible education. You want to be able to travel with your daughter. You want to be able to spend time with her and actually raise her. So, you want to be with her and spend time with her. You want to also be a powerful role model for her, to show her what it is to be an awesome, empowered woman owning her own business and thriving in it versus just surviving. Like, whoa, all of a sudden now, like, I feel that in my belly, and I'm not even a mom, but like, if someone told me that, it's like, whoa. And not only does that like reek of commitment, like, yeah, someone's going to go for that. But all of a sudden hearing that why, that even compels me and moves me towards like, how can I serve you and help you to get what you want? So second one, commitment. Third one is courage. So the third key to living magic is courage. And this one, so courage, what it is it's not the lack of fear. Courage is actually being afraid and doing it anyways. But what I want to speak about with courage in particular is that what I mean here is for you to have the courage to raise your standards and to align your life with your values. So often people, and I'm a person, so I include myself in this statement, they talk about what their values are, but they're not actually living in alignment with them. They have certain things that they want to create in their life, but they're not raising their standards to actually get into vibration with that. So for instance, an example of this might be someone saying like, I want to be in a loving relationship with someone who really respects me, honors me, and is committed to me. Okay. And that's my value and my standards, like, all of that. But then repeatedly, they'll be in relationships with someone who's completely disrespecting them, not valuing them, not committed to them. And they know this, but they're making exceptions. And I used to do this all the time, right? So yeah, the courage one, it's intense because it takes courage to walk your talk. It's one thing to say what you want, but it's another thing to do whatever it takes to make sure that you are in alignment with what it is that you say are your values and are your standards. And this one for me is like, it hits home for me. It's a big one. And when you see people really in that place of courage, raising their standards and aligning with their values, they're on a vibration that's just like, it's beautiful. It's stunning, and they're creating amazing things in the world, and they're having incredible experiences and breathtaking relationships, and they're serving in the world in profound ways. And it takes courage. They might be making it look really effortless, but it takes courage, because there's a lot of poo-pooing on people who want to really raise their standards and live with integrity and in alignment with their values. So this one's a big one. The fourth one is community. So community is about getting support. There's a really powerful person named Jim Rohn who has the saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And when I first heard this, it made perfect sense for me for my entire timeline of my life. and what I was experiencing at that time and who I was hanging out with. It always makes sense. It always is like, oh, yeah, you really are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So really surrounding yourself in community that uplifts you, empowers you. When you talk about your dreams and your visions, they don't poo-poo you. They don't go like, you, or like, you know, whatever it is. It's like, whoa, that's awesome. How can I support you? How can I help you? Oh, you don't want to go out drinking tonight because tomorrow you're waking up and working on your business. You're fucking awesome, you know, and like mean it versus like, come on, come on, come on, you know. It's a real game changer when you're around that. And what's even more powerful is when you're around people who are also wanting to raise their standards and to live up to a potential that is just extraordinary versus, yeah, what everyone else is doing. So, yeah, community. We could talk a lot about all of these, which I actually have a little kind of a surprise at the end related to that. So the 5th one and the last one, and so important, it really brings the 4 keys above that all together, and this one's consistency. So that 5th and final key of living magic is being consistent. So this is about reviewing and feeling your desires every day, right? It's one thing for you to get clear and to commit because you got clear on your why to your dream and to get the courage to raise your standards and to find the community support you. But if you're not consistent, if you're only showing up here and there and you're not remembering, discipline is remembering what you want, and getting into vibration. When people say getting into vibration or getting into frequency, what they're talking about is getting into a feeling state that feels empowering, that feels good, that feels alive, which is in alignment with your highest desires and wishes. So it's not feelings like anxiety and self-doubt and overwhelm and envy. It's more like feelings of like empowerment, hopefulness, inspiration, happiness, playfulness, like whatever, getting into a vibration that actually feels good when you're thinking about that thing that you want, and just visiting it every day and taking consistent action towards your desires. There's a quote by Tony Robbins, and he says, "You become what you do most of the time." You become what you do most of the time. Yep. All right, you guys. So hopefully this has been good stuff so far. So this is the last part. This is the 3rd step to creating a kick-ass life. And this one is called release and receive. Receive what you want. And here I'm going to teach you the 5-phase manifesting formula. We're just going to talk about it for a few minutes. So write this down, and then I'm going to talk to you about the places in between. So the first one is you ask. First one, ask. Second one, believe. Third one, act. Fourth one, let go. And 5th one, receive. Now here is where most people get stuck in the manifesting process, is the spaces in between, believe, act, and let go, right? This is where it gets funky. This is where people are like, I don't understand this whole manifesting thing. It's a bit more tricky than just this. Like the way I look at it is this formula is like a science. Here it is, like this is it. But it's an art to actually get those 3 in between, the believe, act, and let go, to really be in alignment for the energy to, and believing. Here, the one with the belief, one is this is about commitment, right? So getting clear on your asking, right? That's your goal, that's your desire, that's what you want. And then believing is connecting with your why, like getting more committed to it, getting deeper and richer, understanding the feelings behind it, understanding the deeper purpose and energy and how you want to feel and what you think you're going to be experiencing, what you have, all that. But it's not just that. This is the thing, is that if this really, the beliefs, I've definitely, if you don't have what you want right now, I guarantee you there is an underlying belief that is counter to you having that. And this is an unconscious thing, because if it was conscious, you'd be doing something about it. So this is where people really get stunted, is because there's a real need to do some work around belief and identities and understanding the underlying deep subconscious level stuff that is really like holding you back from truly, not fake believing, but truly believing that is possible for you. Acting, this is about the courage and the consistency, like taking the daily action, whatever it is, even if that's, sometimes the actions are internal and sometimes they're external, but being courageous and consistent, doing things that are just outside your comfort zone, doing things consistently, that's really important. And then the letting go, this is really about like, this is a big one of like just surrendering, that trusting that if you don't get what you want, that's because there's something even better coming your way. So this is a real like practice of faith. This is a real practice of deep surrender and deep trust that I want that thing, but if it does not turn out the way that I'm thinking that it should turn out or that I want it to turn out, it's because there's something divine beyond me that is so beautiful, that there's a lesson here that's going to be more valuable than the actual thing, whatever it is. You just got to get into that place of deep faith and surrender. That's the only thing that I've ever known that's helped me to let go, because otherwise I'm not really letting go. But if I can really get to that place of just really, truly having faith that if I don't get what I want, there's something better for me, even if it's just a lesson that's going to radically grow me up and bring peace of mind to me, then I can let go. I can go, I'm doing everything that I can do in my power, and I'm going to let it go. But I'm still, as I let go, I'm still taking action, and I'm still working with my beliefs. And letting go is also a lot about appreciation for what you have right here, right now. And I want to tell you just a quick story about this, and kind of a recent thing that happened to me, to give you a little more clarity on this 5-phase and like kind of the process of it. So again, ask, believe, act, let go, receive. So this was less than a month ago. I host a monthly women's circle, and less than a month ago, I led one where I had all of the women pair up. And we did this eye gazing ceremony where we're looking into each other's eyes. And many cultures believe that you can see someone's soul by looking into their eyes. So we got really connected through that process. We had our hands on each other's heart. We were breathing, really connecting. And then after that, we each had 5 minutes to share without stopping. The other person couldn't speak on top of us, give us feedback. They were just ears listening to us. We just talked about what we wanted. Just like rapid fire, stream of consciousness, verbal, this is everything I want in my life. And we all did that. But then also, which was really powerful, it's super powerful to put out there verbally. It's really powerful to think it, even more powerful to write it, but very profound to say what you want. Now, we said this, but then what we also were doing was we were supposed to notice where emotions came up within that. So sometimes there might be emotions that felt really good, but then sometimes there were emotions that felt like, I don't really believe this or whatever. So just to notice. Now, what I noticed when I did this is that with the things where I was talking about things I wanted to create in the world, ways I wanted to serve, the kind of person I wanted to show up and be, I felt really good about that and really open to it. But when I started talking about material desires, one in particular, which is a convertible, that I wanted a convertible, I started to feel a lot of shame. Like, that's a stupid thing to want. It's just a want, you know, I don't need that. I have a car, you know, it's such a, you know, it was like, and I announced that to everyone. I was like, so that's what I noticed, is that I felt some shame around this like material thing. Well, that was really cathartic for me. It was really cathartic for me to, I don't think I really said out loud, maybe except for to my partner, but not like in a real way to people, like, I want a convertible. Like, I really want one. And then also to say, and I feel shame about what that want. And released it, like purged it. And of course, all of them are like, you totally deserve that. I could see you, you know, it was like, and I really felt freed of that shame. And less than a week after that, my boyfriend texts me and says that his father met someone like who was basically selling a convertible for $3,000 in like mint condition, really great, new engine, new trend, like just great. They are getting rid of it because they're moving. His father didn't even know that I wanted a convertible. So kind of funny that he even mentioned it to JP. And so I started taking action. I went over there, met with them, did all the action. I got the car. I went and took it to the mechanic to have it looked at. I got it smogged. In California, you have to do that. I took action. And then I also just let go. You know what, if this doesn't work out, if there's any problems with it, I'm just gonna trust, like, this was a fun process. I got to have a convertible for a weekend. Like, I have a car, I don't need it. I'm just gonna trust. And I'm buying that convertible tomorrow. So I manifest, which what is really wild about that is I've been saying, like, to myself and to my partner, like, maybe next year I'll get a convertible. But it's already just like that quick. And one of the key things that I realized that was keeping me from receiving that was the believe one, because I didn't really believe it could be mine because I was blocked with the shame. There was that shame was blocking it from fully letting it believe, for me to fully believe that it was okay for me to have it, that I deserved it, right? Like, I wasn't letting myself deserve it. Pretty powerful that like cathartic release moved me past and into the ability for me to, you know, that's like where the magic comes in. Like, what are the chances that a couple days later my boyfriend's father meets, like, it's just so interesting, right? I wasn't even like out there looking, and then I took action, I let go, and now I'm receiving. Woohoo! Yeah, and you know what, I want everyone to have that. And I don't just mean in the material world. Like, yes, in the material world, what you want, you deserve to have. And like, we all need to get over that and stop being poo-hoo about people wanting things. But like, for you to be able to create the things that you really want to be creating on all levels is so powerful and so needed in this world. Is so needed for us to really wake up and to step into our power, because when we do that, we start influencing people in that way. Instead of being a poo-poo influencer, we're a powerful influencer, right? And that is incredible. It's like an incredible domino effect of starting to bring magic into the world, which is reminding people that we are made of that magic, that we are that, and that we're much more powerful than we give ourselves credit for. So what I want to do in these last 5 minutes is just take a moment and speak to you guys about my upcoming program, which some of you already know about it. It actually closes in 1 week. I only have 2 spots left for it. And this program is a 5-month one-on-one coaching program. And this program is all about you really creating a kick-ass life and business that just you fucking love. You know, this is about doing the mindset work that is blocking you, getting clear on the identities and the beliefs that are keeping you stuck in whatever it is, the shame, the guilt, I'm not good enough, and moving past that so you can start to create the magic in your life. This is also an opportunity for us to really create the strategy, get clear, what is it that you actually want, and aside from shoulds. And for me, I feel like some of the most powerful work I do with people is we can really talk about what we want, but then so often people create what they want and they realize, I didn't actually want that. My mom wanted that for me, or my ego wanted that for me, but I didn't actually want that. And you just spent a year creating something from a should. So really getting out of your own way and creating from your authentic truth. And when you'll know, because like we'll be feeling it together, it'll just feel so organic, and synchronicities will start to happen, and that magic will start to happen. That's when you know you've clicked into it. This program is also an opportunity for you to have that support, for you to have that accountability, for you to stay consistent, for you to stretch yourself outside of your comfort zone, to be in that courage place, right? To really, truly own what it is that you want, and to have that, but even more so to ask for more. Because what I often find is that people are like so scared, they kind of keep it small, but like, and not right away, like we'll start to create the magic, and then it'll get bigger and bigger on what we ask. So just people, in case you're like, what is going on? What is this program? I'm going to give you guys the offer up here. What I'm offering is 5 free strategy sessions. So I'm going to load up the offer so it's here and you guys can grab it. There's only 5 of them. And all I ask is that, let's see, load. And display offer is that if you book this session, like I said, there's only 5. I really want you to book it from a place that you are ready to really create this change and stretch yourself into this new being, this new becoming. So the session is going to be powerful. I guarantee you'll get a lot out of it, even if we don't work together. And keep in mind, there are only 2 spots, and I'm offering 5 strategy sessions, so I won't be working with everyone. So the session is going to be powerful. It's going to be awesome. But of course, at the end, this is for you to learn about my program. So the program begins in July. It's a 5-month program. It's $3,100, or you can do a payment plan, which is an $850 deposit, and then 4 payments of $600. So what I tell a lot of people, this $3,100 is the price that so many people I know are paying for a 1-week yoga retreat. That's what so many people are doing. And this is a 5-month life-changing, business-altering experience. It's incredibly powerful. I guarantee you it will be worth every cent. But in addition, I'm offering this, and those of you who are already my clients, just so you guys know, this offer is for you as well. In August, I'm going to be releasing my 5-week course in Living Magic. So this was something that I did last year. I stopped it this year, but everyone who is in my program, the ones who are currently in, and the 2 that will fill the program, whoever you are out there, you'll get that 5-week course in Living Magic. And that's why I take you through those 5 keys of living magic. And each week we go through one. So we go through clarity first. And it's this virtual course. But what's cool about it is you have a week to focus on each one. So the first week is clarity. And there's this virtual course and this audio. And you go through these kind of experiences written. And then you really focus your energy and your attention for a full week. But you'll have me as a coach as well, which is what no one has ever had. Normally this is just a total virtual on your own course. But here you'll have me coaching you through this process so that you can get so clear. You can get so committed. You can really build that courage muscle. You can really form the community that's really going to support you. And in fact, I'm going to pair you up with someone else in the program so you have not just me, but another accountability buddy. And then also that last little bit, which is just staying consistent, which is so key to creating the life you want to create. So if this sounds exciting to you, go ahead, you'll book your session. You just hit that link, book your session on the right. I think I have two appointments on Friday and then 3 next week on Wednesday. And then once I get your appointment, what I'll do is I'll send you an application, which I've heard from people is really, really fun for them to even fill out. It helps them get more clear. And from there, we'll communicate and have that session. Also, if anyone has any questions, you're like, okay, I'm interested, but I just feel like I have to ask you a couple of questions first. No problem. You can email me at amber.campion@gmail.com. That's my personal email address. So Amber, AMBER, .campion, CAMPION.com, or @gmail.com. Now my website is ambercampion.com. So if you want to go to ambercampion.com and read a little bit more about my coaching program and get to know me more there, go ahead and do that. But what I will say is take action sooner than later, because this offer is only going to be available for the next 48 hours. And also generally what happens when I offer these free hour-long sessions is that within the first 24 hours, they're all booked. And there's only 5 and I'm not adding any more. So with that being said, I just want to appreciate everyone who stuck it out the whole time. We're 3 minutes over, and just say, like, do this. You've got this. You've got some amazing tools. Whether or not we work together, these are powerful tools if you really apply them the way that I spoke of. If you're ready to have that support and you're ready to be a part of a powerful community and you're ready to get really serious about creating a kick-ass life and seeing some profound changes take place in your life over the next year, then let's talk. All right, you guys have a great evening, and I'll see you again on the webinar next time I do it. Bye.